Hi, this is Dustine from Two Lucky Cats, and I'm going to show you how to make note cards or postcards from the block printing plates that we made. Alright, the first thing I'd like to talk to you about is paper that you can use to make your cards. You can always buy these card sets. This one is watercolor cards. These are blank postcards from watercolor paper, and these are cards that are made out of cardstock. And of course these come with envelopes. The other thing that you can do is just use your own watercolor paper and cut them into whatever size you want your postcards to be, or you can use cardstock, but then you'll have to go and find envelopes if you want to mail them for the note cards. Now I just wanted to show you that like the postcard size watercolor cards that I bought already cut have a slight texture to it. So this is what it looks like when you're printing it. It has a slight texture on the card and a smooth side where you can write your message on the back. Now these are postcards that I made from watercolor paper, and as you can see there's texture in the card. And there's also a smooth card, or smooth side of the card that you can write on. This is the cardstock envelopes that or note cards that I bought, and this just has a smooth surface to it. And then here are the watercolor cards that I used. It has a slight texture to the paper, and it is heavier, but of course they're more expensive. You can also try other types of paper, but if you just make your own cards, like I say, you'll have to find, and they do sell these in the craft store, just plain envelopes that you can use. Alright, well before I start talking about using color, the best thing to do before you actually start printing on your cards is to get something like copy paper and do some experimenting in terms of the types of color and how to apply the paint and how to get a good clear image before you actually start to print on your postcards or your note cards. Now in terms of choosing colors, if you're not real confident with using different colors, you might want to start by just using one color. For example, here on this I used a dark blue, but you can use any color to do the card. Now, the second technique that you might want to use, and again, this doesn't, it's pretty easy to do even if you don't have a lot of experience working with color. What I did here was I chose two colors that are the same, but they're different tones, and one is light and one is dark, so you can see the contrast. So here I just used purple, and I did the snail, and I did the frame of the snail. And then if I got any of the paint kind of over this outline, I just took a paper towel and wiped that paint off. And then I just took the mauve and I sponged all over it. So when I printed it out, the image was really clear because of the contrast. Another thing you can do is, again, pick colors that are similar. This is kind of a pinky orange with a light peach over it. And then once I did the flowers first, and then I did the leaves, and then I started at the top. Because these are similar colors and you're not going to mix, say if you started with a green, then the green is going to come all the way up here. So it's better to start at the top and then sponge over the color that's similar and then go down and finish off the bottom. So again, I thought that looked pretty good. Now the third option is using different colors. And here I think it looked good because I did the leaves first, and this is like a reddish color, and you know, red and blue can make purple. So then I did the leaves in blue and green. Blue over green will just make a more bluish green. So I did the flowers, and then I did the leaves, and of course if I had any smears I just kind of cleaned it up a little bit with a paper towel. And then I put this blue color over the whole plate, and then when I printed it, it turned out pretty good. And here's another one that I did. It's a similar thing, except I did blue flowers and purple. And then I did the flowers first again, then the leaves, and then I just printed the whole, or put purple over the whole plate, and then I printed it, and it turned out like this. One thing I like to do with this technique is combine it with another technique. For example, I used it to create the background. For example, here's one that I have a wavy background, and here's another one I made with kind of an ombre effect, with the colors going from darker to lighter. And then once it dries, to use a stamp, and in this case I used the butterfly stamp that we created, and then stamp design over the background. And again, here's another example of this. It's a striped background, and then I stamp the carrot over it. So I think it makes it an interesting technique when you can combine the different techniques together. Another tip I'd like to give you is, well, actually a few more tips on applying the paint and how to get a good image to come out. Now here's one where all the paint didn't come off. So what you want to make sure when you put your paint on, and you have an even coverage of the paint, but you also, what I do is I pick it up like this, and I put it down, and then you have to make sure that you rub. And it's best to rub the plate part, not turn and rub on the back of the paper, because you can smear paint on the back. It's just better if you rub on the back of the plate. So just make sure you rub all over to make sure you're getting an even coverage of the image. Now, if you do it and you see that not a lot of details coming up, it may mean that you have to go over it again with a pencil to make sure that the line that you've created is wide enough to make sure that the image comes up. Now, another thing I found out when I was experimenting with this is that if you have some acrylic paint that you've had for a while, it might look fine, but it might have dried out just a little bit. And, for example, in this case, a lot of the detail wasn't coming up because the paint was drying before I got it all on there. So one thing that I found was, well, for one thing, I had a new set that I was using, which I got at Amazon.com, and it has a lot of colors in it, but didn't have every color, so I used some of the paint that I had. So I was using this, it's called Neutral, and I guess it is similar to, if you ever use fabric paints, it has like colorless extender, which makes the paint a little bit more fluid. So I was using this, and to tell you the truth, I don't really know if this is easy to get or not, but I'll look into it. But if you don't have anything like that, I would just take a spray bottle and spray over the paint to just water it down a little bit. You don't want it to be too much because your prints are going to come out smeared, and you're not going to get the crisp detail. All right, now you're ready to print with the plate that you've made. Just make sure that you have a lot of damp paper towels and paper towels to wipe your hands off, because you don't want to go through all this effort and then have finger marks all over your final product. So when you've applied the paint to the plate, what I do with the cards, especially if I'm going to have a border, is just look from the top and make sure I have it centered, and then I gently put it down, and then I just rub, like I say, the back of the plate. You don't want to turn it over and do the back of the paper, although probably with the card, since the card is bigger than the plate, it wouldn't matter that much. But if you're doing something like a postcard, where the postcard's about the same size as the plate, and the plate is just, maybe it could be a little bit bigger, so you don't spread the paint from underneath, it's better if you just put the postcard down on the side you're going to print on, and then gently put this on. And again, you want to do this on scrap paper or newspaper, and then rub the back of it. And just make sure you go over it evenly so you get all the print off. If you find that your prints aren't coming out clear, or with all the detail on it, you may have to take a pencil and go around again and get some of the paint if you've used it several times. These plates, and I was concerned in the beginning that they weren't going to stand up very well because they are pretty thin, but I found I could make numerous prints with these plates that I made. And what I do every time I use them, I just take a wet paper towel and wipe any excess paint off. And then after about 2 or 3 printings, I just wash them off with soap and water and dry them, and then use them again. And like I say, if you're losing some of the detail, and see here, there's a little bit of paint in here, you can just go around with a pencil, and you know, so that your image will have sharp detail in it. So I hope you enjoyed making these. They're very easy to do, and I think you get good results from it. I hope you enjoyed using the block printing technique to create these postcards and note cards. You can use this techniques in a variety of different materials, including printing on fabric. I'm working on new projects, so we hope to see you again soon here at TwoLuckyCats.com.